I know that the ones who love us will miss us.
At 60, Keanu Reeves shattered his kneecap filming John Wick, but came back 3 days later. He's been robbed, impersonated by AI scammers and spent $50,000 monthly protecting fans from fake profiles using his face. In 2025, he stepped onto Broadway for 8 shows a week, barely able to walk. Critics called him brilliant, but behind the curtain, something else was happening. After decades of hiding pain, surgeries, and heartbreak, Keanu finally spoke about what comes next. This isn't retirement, it's something nobody saw coming, and Hollywood still doesn't know how to handle it. Keanu Reeves was born on September 2, 1964 in Beirut. His father, Samuel, was Hawaiian Chinese and his mother, Patricia, was British. They met in Beirut when Samuel was 21 and Patricia just 19. Patricia was working in costume design and Samuel was drifting between jobs, already living a wild life. Keanu's name means cool breeze over the mountains in Hawaiian, but his early years were anything but calm. Just 3 weeks after Keanu was born, the family moved to Sydney. A year later, Samuel vanished from their lives completely. By the time Keanu turned 3, Patricia had moved to New York, raising him alone. And that was just the start of their endless moving. Keanu's dad was already deep into drugs when Hedis appeared. But Keanu kept visiting him in Hawaii until he turned 13. Their final meeting in 1977 was strange. They just sat under the stars quietly. And then the next day, Samuel dropped him at the airport. That was it. He never saw him again. Years later, when someone asked Keanu where his dad was, he said it was like the earth swallowed him. When Samuel ended up in prison, Keanu didn't even know. The emotional damage was permanent. Patricia tried to build a stable life, but her love life kept things rocky. She married Broadway director Paul Aaron in 1970. That only lasted a year. Then in 1976, she married rock promoter Robert Miller. They had a daughter, Karina. Later came her fourth husband, Jack Bond, a salon owner. That ended in 1994. Meanwhile, her work in showbiz brought all kinds of strange moments into Keanu's childhood. They lived near Nimbus 9 Studio in Toronto. That's where rock stars came and went. One time, Alice Cooper babysat him. He met Emmylou Harris. He met Dolly Parton, too. But none of that made him feel grounded. By the time Keanu was 17, he'd been in 4 different high schools. He was expelled from one of them, a tobacco school of the arts, for being too disruptive. At Delisle College, he became a hockey goalie and got the nickname The Wall. But his dyslexia made school hard. Reading was a struggle, and he said he always felt like an outsider. At Endale, his last school, he gave up completely. He never got a high school diploma. He dropped out and turned to acting instead. In 1992, while Keanu was becoming famous, his father was arrested in Hawaii for trying to sell heroin. He had large amounts of cocaine, too. He got 10 years in prison, but only served 2. Guards treated him well because of Keanu's fame. He even got his GED behind bars. Once someone told him that Keanu had died in a crash, and he broke down crying, but still he never reached out. Keanu never spoke to him again. Samuel died in 2018, still estranged. At 15, Keanu was barely holding things together in school. His dyslexia made him feel lost in class, and he often pretended to understand things. He was expelled for being loud and impulsive. At Endale, he couldn't keep up. He said himself, "Because I had trouble reading, I wasn't a good student." He started acting just to survive. Pretending wasn't just forstage anymore. It became a way of life. When he was a teenager, hockey was his escape. He was a brilliant goalkeeper. He thought he might play professionally, maybe even make it to the Olympics. But then he shattered his ankle in a brutal accident. He said he could see the bone. Just like that, his dream ended. With nowhere else to go, he turned to acting. In 1984, Keanu got his first TV role in a Canadian show called Hanging In. He played a troubled teen. The strange part was he really was a troubled teen in real life. He was battling anxiety and loneliness from all the moving, festive dads and the chaos. He would play hockey with friends just to calm his nerves. That same year, he got a theater role in a strange play called Wolf Boy in Toronto. It was controversial and intense. His performance was raw, physical, and unforgettable. Some scenes became local legends. This was the moment he started to get noticed. In 1985, he drove his car to Hollywood to chase acting dreams, but agents told him his name was too foreign. They wanted him to change it to something more American, like Casey or Chuck. For a while, he used the name Keanu Reeves, but eventually he refused. He said it felt wrong to hide who he was. That decision shaped his path. His breakout came in 1986 with the movie River's Edge. The character he played had to deal with the murder of a friend. The story was based on a real crime. Keanu didn't just act, he felt it. It reminded him of all the detachment and pain that carried inside. In 1989, he was cast in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. He originally auditioned for the role of Bill, but the director switched him to Ted because of the chemistry with co-star Alex Winter. They even improvised a lot of the scenes. The script was first written on napkins. Noon expected it to become a cult hit, then came Point Break. In 1991, Keanu trained for months to learn surfing. He nearly drowned several times. He trained with FBI agents, too. And even quarterback coaches. He gave everything to that role. After the movie, he kept surfing for life. In 1986, he filmed Young Blood, a hockey movie with Rob Lowe and Patrick Seas. He played a goalie again. He did all his own stunts, pucks were flying at 90 miles per hour. He didn't use a stunt double. That film showed how serious he was. He would risk anything for the story. In 1994, while filming Speed, Keanu Reeves didn't want his stunt double doing his job. He ended up doing about 90% of all the dangerous scenes himself. One of the most unforgettable ones was when the bus had to jump across a gap on the highway. But during one of those stunts, something went wrong. The bus malfunctioned and launched him nearly 20 feet into the air. He hit the ground hard, cracked 2 ribs, and got a concussion. He didn't tell the director because he didn't want them to stop filming. He just kept going. Things got worse when they filmed on a real highway near San Diego. No one told the cast that actual vehicles would be involved that day. Suddenly, the bus started crashing into real cars. Keanu said the people on board screamed in real fear because no one expected it. Still, he pushed through. And when Speed hit theaters, it made $350 million worldwide. Even though it only cost around $30 million to make, that film turned him into a true action star. But behind the scenes, it nearly broke him. Then something shocking happened. After Speed became a huge hit, Warner Brothers offered Keanu a deal worth $75 million, it included back-end profits and merchandising rights. But he said no. Warner Brothers offered Keanu a deal worth $75 million, it included back-end profits and merchandising rights. But he said no. He didn't even blink. It wasn't about the money. He just didn't want to be controlled. He believed in staying true to the work, not the paycheck. Later in 1997, he even rejected $11 million for Speed 2, so he could take a role in The Devil's Advocate, a movie that gave him a chance to show another side of himself. His own agent said it was career suicide. But Keanu believed in doing what felt right, not what looked smart on paper. To get Al Pacino on board for The Devil's Advocate. He even agreed to take a big pay cut. He just wanted the story to work. His earlier attempt at Shakespeare in the 1993 movie Much Ado About Nothing didn't go well. Critics said his performance felt stiff and unnatural. He struggled with felons. But there was something the critics didn't know. Keanu had dyslexia. So did Emma Thompson, his co-star. The two of them stayed up late after long shoots, helping each other read and understand the complex language. She helped him learn how to speak those lines, and their friendship grew stronger because they both understood how hard it was. That movie may have embarrassed him publicly, but privately, it taught him how to keep going even when you feel like you're falling behind. Then came Johnny Mnemonic in 1995, and everything that could go wrong did. The movie started with a $26 million budget, but after speed success, Sony tried to turn it into a blockbuster. Keanu clashed with the director over everything from the casting to the action scenes. He even walked off the set twice. The director later called the whole thing corrupt and torturous. The movie was supposed to be small and smart, based on William Gibson's cyberpunk story, but it got twisted into something else. They spent way more money than planned and the final version didn't match anyone's vision. It lost almost $100 million globally. Keanu later admitted that his big dreams about using new technology in the movie weren't ready for reality when The Devil's Advocate came out in 1997. People noticed a new depth in Keanu's acting. What most didn't know was that there was pulling from real pain. His father had walked out when Keanu was just 3. The last time he saw him was when he was 13 during a trip to Hawaii. They watched the night sky together and the next morning his father was gone. No police, no hospital records, just gone. Keanu carried that pain with him 4 years. In The Devil's Advocate, he channeled that hurt into every scene with Al Pacino, who played a twisted father figure. Acting teachers noticed how deeply Keanu went into those emotions, but he didn't talk much about it. He called the praise just flattery, like he didn't want to let the compliments in. Then came The Matrix. In 1998, just weeks before filming began, Keanu had to get emergency spinal surgery. The damage had built up from years of motorcycle crashes and sports injuries. He couldn't even walk properly, but he kept quiet and went on with training. He wore a neck brace under his clothes while learning the fight choreography. Some of his stiffness in the movie wasn't acting. It was the pain. The team had to rearrange the shooting schedule so he could heal, but he never told the studio how bad it was. He was afraid they might replace him. When The Matrix came out in 1999, it changed cinema forever. The bullet time effect became legendary. The movie cost $63 million to make and Keanu was paid $10 million up front. But what headed next surprised everyone. He gave away a huge part of his earnings. He shared his profits with the special effects crew and stunt team, giving some of them bonuses worth around $1 million each. Studio executives thought it was insane, but he didn't care. He wanted the people behind the scenes to be treated like the stars, too. After the trilogy earned $1.8 billion, Keanu found out that Warner Brothers had messed with the numbers. They were underreporting profits to avoid paying him what he was owed. In 2001, he filed a lawsuit. He claimed the studio used shady accounting tricks to hold back around $100 million in residuals. They quietly settled out of court and Keanu added clauses to protect his future deals. But the whole thing made him more distant from the business side of Hollywood. He wanted toked, not fight over money. In The Matrix Reloaded, filmed in 2002, Keanu pushed his body again. The highlight was a 14-minute highway chase scene. A full freeway was built just for the shoot. He drove himself in most of the stunts, sometimes reaching over 85 in Pontian. One scene involved a 180-foot car flip. He walked away from it, but not unharmed. The whiplash was bad. He needed therapy and lived with neck pain for years. For a moment, he thought about using stunt doubles in Matrix Revolutions, but hadn't. While all this was happening, his sister Kim was fighting for her life. She had leukemia. She got diagnosed in 1991 and for 10 long years, Keanu stood by her. He sold his house to go closer to her. He spent $5 million on treatments. Then, after The Matrix made him millions, he donated over $31 million to cancer research. He didn't add his name to any of it. He even created a private foundation that kept giving. No one knew about it until a quiet interview in 2009. He never spoke about it publicly. Keanu Reeves went through something most actors would have quit over. When he was filming Constantine in 2005, he wanted to look like a real worn-out exorcist. That meant heavy makeup every day. But the chemicals in it burned his skin. It got so bad that his face and neck were covered in red welts and blisters. Doctors told him to stop. He didn't listen. He even refused to use a body double for the fire scenes. Flames scorched his skin and made things worse, but he kept going. He was still smoking real cigarettes on set just to stay in character, even though it slowed down the healing. The shoot had to stop several times so he could recover, and that alone cost the movie an extra $2 million on top of its $100 million budget. But what hurt him most didn't happen on a film set. On December 24, 1999, just before the world was about to see The Matrix, Keanu's real world shattered. He and his girlfriend Jennifer Sim were expecting a baby. They'd already picked a name, Ava. But on Christmas Eve, at 8 months, Ava was stillborn. There had been no warning. Jennifer had been completely healthy. The baby's room was ready. The news crushed them. Jennifer broke down so badly that she had to get help right away. Keanu disappeared from the public eye for almost a year. He said no to several movie deals, including ones that would have paid him $20 million. The relationship couldn't survive the pain. They loved each other, but grief took over everything. Within weeks, they had drifted apart. Then came the moment that finished what little healing he had left. On April 2, 2001, just after 6:00 in the morning, Jennifer died in a car crash. Her Jeep slammed into parked cars on Kenna Boulevard in Los Angeles, the same road where Keanu had once filmed high-speed scenes for Speed. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt. The police found 2 rolled-up bills with white powder, plus pills for back pain from a past accident. Just one day earlier on April 1, she and Keanu had been together in San Francisco. They had brunch. They had talked. They had reconnected. That was their last day. When Keanu called the coroner's office asking if Jennifer Sim was there, he already knew the answer, but he asked